Welcome to the Fragility Forum 2022 podcast series produced by the Fragility, Conflict and Violence Group of the World Bank Group. As complexity and uncertainty become the new normal, with complex crises posing new challenges, from the COVID-19 pandemic to climate change, this podcast series explores how the international community can best support countries affected by fragility, conflict and violence in a fast-changing global landscape.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Voices from the Ground, reporting from the Frontlines of Peace, a three-part podcast produced by the Stanley Center for Peace and Security in collaboration with the New Humanitarian. This podcast features conversations with contributors to Beyond the Bang Bang, a reporting series launched 2 years ago to investigate what works to build peace and resilience in fragile and conflict-affected countries and communities around the world. Each episode explores a unique view from the ground. I'm your host, Mark Leon Goldberg. I am the editor of UN Dispatch and host the Global Dispatches podcast. In this episode, I'll be speaking with Idayat Hassan, director of the Center for Democracy and Development, an Abuja-based policy advocacy and research organization, and a contributor to the series Beyond the Bang Bang, reporting from the Frontlines of Peace. Welcome, Idayat.
Oh, thank you very much, Mark. It's a pleasure to be on.
Well, let's jump right into things. I would love to have you kick off by explaining banditry. What do we mean by banditry in the Nigerian context?
I think a banditry is actually simply described as a group of heterogeneous young men. I think the average age is from 9 to the oldest bandits, not up to 50 years of age. So the average age is actually, it oscillates between 8 and 27 for most of the notorious bandit groups. And they're actually estimated to be between 10,000 and 30,000 forces cutting across at least 100 bandit groups operating in rural northwest Nigeria. So these bandits are heavily armed criminal gangs who terrorize, who kill, kidnap, burn houses, prevent people from harvesting their crop, and even now kill security men in rural northwest Nigeria, and recently some part of the north central Nigeria of Niger. Niger State is just like 2 hours drive from the capital of Niger State, Minna. It's just 2 hours drive to the capital city, Abuja, where I am based, really. And these bandit groups are not homogeneous, but they are likely Fulanis. But still, they are Tuaregs, ethnic Tuaregs, who are originally from Mali, Niger, but who have been in Nigeria mostly for more than a century, and some few that came in, particularly after the Chadian Civil War. Kanuri, who are also herders by profession, and some few Hausa people. So, but largely they are actually Fulanis, but Fulanis are themselves. They wield sophisticated weaponry. And by weaponry, we are talking about rocket propeller guns, PKT machine gun by the women, the few women amongst them. AK-47 and AK-49 are just few of the weaponry that they actually wield. They are both roving and stationary. Once they are starting up, they are largely roving, moving from one rural community to the other, sacking people, taking away property, kidnapping. But once they achieve a relative height, as in they've risen, and they are not, they become stationary, they exact taxes from people, they control territory, and even adjudicate in instances of disputes in communities. Examples of such bandits will be Shehu Rekeb and Alilu Sububu, who
Well,
operate adjudicating for citizens.
Well, that's
Indiscriminately.
interesting. It sounds like, as you describe it, what started as a purely criminal enterprise, capturing livestock, kidnapping people, extortion, has now turned into something with some political dimensions as well.
Yeah, that is actually true. Originally, when you speak to the bandits, they claim that they are all ethnic nationalists. And what they're actually trying to do is they are trying to fight for the preservation of the Fulani race and the Fulani livelihood, really. They all claim that at one time or the other, they have actually been victims of cattle rustling. They've been victims of injustice, which is quite true, because when you look at the slow wheel of justice in Nigeria, the corruption in the system, the fact that people feel that justice delayed is justice denied, made them, these are just few reasons that they claim made them to take up arms, to fight for their survival, to avenge the wrongs that have actually happened, been occasioned to them, to avenge this, that these are just like that have actually happened to them, so that they are actually trying to avenge all the wrongs the Nigerian states have actually done to them. But either you look at these grievances, which some are actually genuine, real, while others may be perceived, it is important to point out that these bandits also are really just about the economy of it, especially when you start conceptualizing it, be within the prism of this warlordism, where they have a lot of resources. They also fight other bandits who try to encroach on their own territory. The ethnic agenda as a mobilization factor then disappears, and you see that this is more of a criminality that is actually at stake.
So what has been the response by the Nigerian armed forces thus far to generally this problem of banditry?
Quite interestingly, Nigeria has a singular way in terms of dealing with issues first, and that is using the military approach, which has not changed with this conflict. Since the beginning of the conflict, in the heightening of the conflict in 2014, Nigeria would have launched more than 11 military operations trying to address the issues in the northwest of the country. Unfortunately, these military operations were quite heavy-handed and occasioned a lot of human rights violations, extrajudicial killings, and of course, collateral damages, which provided impetus for the bandits to mobilize around such as grievances. But while the issues of rights are quite important, it's also important to point out that this is a moving conflict. The conflict is actually one that most of the affected 6 states are affected from their borders, internal borders, with Zamfara State, which is actually the epicenter of the banditry. So the lack of coordinated military operation, a singular operation, maybe akin to what we have in the northeast of Nigeria as Operation Hadinkai, having separate operation for each country, which is not simultaneous, allows the bandits to move from one part of the thick forest in one state to the other, while they are allowing the conflict to further move into other surrounding states. That is one. But secondly is also the fact that the numbers of military men, the boots on ground, are quite thin compared to the population and the expanse land area we are actually talking about. Geography here is big. When you talk about Niger State is said to be all the 5 southeastern states in Nigeria is just put together is just Niger State. So you can imagine how large this state really is. Yeah, in Niger really is maybe the size of Belgium or Switzerland, you can think of, and that is just one state. Then the reliance on area bombardment without complementing with boots on ground and proper intelligence itself has ensured that most of the people that are attacked and more of collateral damages, as these hardened criminals are able to move into areas, valleys unknown. And this is even synonymous with their strategy. So bandits do not just acquire weaponry based on the sophisticated nature.
So with the military approach apparently not working, have there been any attempts at like non-military solutions, at peace deals being brokered with various bandit groups?
And it's not as adaptive as this criminal element. I think this has not really allowed the military approach to work the way it should probably have worked.
So with the military approach apparently not succeeding, have there been any attempts at brokering some sort of peace deals with these various bandit groups?
Yes. While the military approach is largely a federal-led response, at the state level, there has been attempts to broker peace deals with varying levels of successes. Peace deals or amnesty are nothing new to Nigeria. You see that when the restive Niger Delta, which actually is the basis of Nigeria gross domestic product, particularly when we talk about foreign exchange reserve, became very restive, affecting the oil economy, the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. The Nigerian government negotiated a peace deal, or what they call an amnesty program, with the Niger Delta militants, which actually ensured that they got some stipend, over $150, on consistent basis in the last 7 years plus. And beyond getting, in fact, in more than 8 years now, they got sent to schools abroad and within the country to study. So it's just okay to have peace agreement. But the main difference is that the kind of peace agreement in the Northwest was largely state-led peace deals. And this peace deal first started in Zamfara State, where the erstwhile governor, Governor Yari, the former governor, launched an amnesty and a cash for guns scheme in 2016. In return for guns, you get some particular amount of money. A lead actor in that peace deal was the Buhari Daji itself, who was the king, the #1 warlord during that period. After 2 years, the peace deal fell apart. Again in 2019, with the coming in of the new governor, he also launched a peace deal, which he calls Cow in Return for Guns, in an effort to avoid monetizing the violence. As part of the package, he ordered the disarmament of the Yansakai. These are local militia groups, vigilante groups, who are self-defense group, actually, who have also been accused of committing gross human rights violation, responsible for the heightening of the conflict, and promised to establish a rural grazing area called Ruga in Zamfara. So far, so good. This peace deal was negotiated with some key linchpin coming out. Most of them are now dead, haven't gone back to the forest to interact with their friends. When they attack in Katsina also, the government has entered, the governor of Katsina have also entered into a peace deal twice with the bandits. All of it fell through again. While other states have actually taken a hard line over peace deals or agreements with the, or any kind of agreements with the bandits. Now, there are different reasons for the failure of the peace deals. When you ask the bandits group, their leaders will claim that these peace deals are not born out of government sincerity, that everything that was actually promised by the government were not delivered to them. They neither got reintegration, they were kept in the capital city for several months without being properly reintegrated or granted everything they have actually been promised. I think there is a sense of entitlement linked to that. But importantly is the framework for the peace deal itself. One, this peace deal are not written. There is no document that we can bring out to say that this is the peace agreement agreed to between the government and this bandit group. Secondly, is also that there is no accompanying DDR program. We're talking about de-radicalization or demobilization, reintegration and rehabilitation and reintegration program attached to this program. So people just drop arms. They come with like maybe 20 arms, have possibly owning 1,000 arms and get something out of the government. The fact that it's called a deal itself is a problem, because according to the bandits, they claim that if it is a deal, that is why that the peace deal is a deal. That is why it is called a deal. So they cannot be held to it, aside from the fact that the people involved in this peace deal are also problems to the peace deal. It is not, it lacks consultation, and in particular, it actually focuses on the warlords at the expense of their followers. Now, if you take the fact that a warlord might have the small warlords, like just the ordinary bandits, the local bandits will have an average of 50 or 100 followers, boys. They call them boys, youth, in his group. While the big ones could have as much as 1,000. 2G, who is one of the notorious warlord, has got 15 commanders spanning 3 states in the northwest of the country, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina, such that is able to appoint a village head, depose a village head, and appoint somebody in his stead. A peace agreement with 2G will only take care of 2G without thinking of his 15 commanders, nor the over 1,000 foot soldiers in his enclave. This is very problematic because at that point, they would actually have little or no ability to control their followers.
Can I ask, in our last 2 or 3 minutes, you've just articulated all that peace deals exclude and why peace deals have not worked. What do you suspect would be ingredients of successful peace deal or some sort of disarmament operations or some sort of way forward with bandit groups? What would be a better way to approach this issue?
I think importantly is there must actually be a formal DDR program to accompany any kind of peace deal. And this is quite important considering the numbers of young people, children who are actually the foot soldiers in the camp of this bandit group. There is a need for accountability as well, such that people know that at every point in time there are punishments for crimes. Then of course the government will have to be must lead a coordinated warfare, which will focus on ensuring that collateral damages are reduced to the barest minimum, but most importantly, the warfare is smarter and well coordinated. And I think lastly, really balancing livelihoods are quite important. So the need for reparation, the need for rebuilding lives, and balancing the rights of victims as against that of the perpetrators are very, very important for sustainable peace. But the core question that actually begs the answer when you are within a state where there are dwindling resources is that of development. For sustainable peace, there is actually a need for massive development. And by development, we actually mean that those public goods and services, which includes education, water, health, good roads, a working justice system, amongst other, are necessary for sustainable peace in Northwest Nigeria and addressing the banditry and other criminalities.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for your excellent article on this subject in the New Humanitarian. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
This wraps up this episode of the podcast series. Thank you for listening, and please check out our other podcasts. For that, and to learn more about the World Bank Group efforts in environments affected by fragility, conflict, and violence, please visit our website www.worldbank.org/FCV.